New polling from NBC News reveals a gender divide among Gen Z that reaches beyond politics. Young men and young women far apart on Trump and just about every other cultural issue going into the midterms. Take a look at how they rank the importance of marriage and having children, for example, to their personal idea of success. Men who voted for Trump ranked both in their top 5, while if you read all the way to the bottom, you'll see women who voted for Harris ranked both having children and getting married next to last. Joining us now, Democratic strategist and pollster, as well as MSNBC legal analyst Cornell Belcher. Tim Miller, also back with us as well. Cornell, what do you make of that instance or that specific number, that men see marriage and children as helping them have a successful life, and women who voted for Harris see having kids and getting married as not that important, the least important things for them to have a successful life? Explain that.
I think the key part of this is men who voted for Trump, right? I think there's less a divide with men who voted for Harris, right? But men who voted for Trump, it is the divide that we're seeing across the country, where we have women who, I know this is crazy, right, don't want Roe v. Wade overturned, want a workplace equality, and don't want us to roll back, programs and projects that have helped women as well as people of color, get ahead or find equity in the workplace versus what Trump was offering America, right? I know we tell Americans that the election was about the price of eggs. And I think it's the biggest bamboozling we've ever done in this country, when the truth of the matter is Donald Trump was selling a vision of America that was backwards, that was saying we got to go back to these traditional ways that were 1950-ish sort of idealism about men and women and the world, while Harris was saying, no, we've got to move forward. And so certainly,
but I guess my question is why is having a family, getting married and having a family now so political that if you want to have a family and you want to have more kids, you're seen as more conservative, I guess, than liberal, or you're seen as a Trump voter rather than a Harris voter? The politicization.
I don't know if you're seeing as a Trump voter, but certainly if you're from this data, especially among young voters, young men who voted for Trump put having a family in those more traditional, the so-called more traditional roles as a higher premium. And from certainly women, especially younger women who aren't in that Trump camp, don't see that as their vehicle for happiness. They see so the idea of them pursuing their careers and pursuing other activities. Not to say that family isn't important, but they certainly rank other things like their career and having the ability to do things that they want ahead of having a family. And that's not putting a value judgment saying that they don't value family, but they certainly don't put it in the same sort of top ranking as position as a male Trump voter does.
It is fascinating, Tim, the divide.
Yeah, I mean, I find the whole poll kind of alarming. I mean, on the male side, the male Trump voters, the last thing that they care about last is having emotional stability. I think that kind of says it all. That's concerning in a certain way.
Yeah.
But on the women's side of the ledger, the young women, I don't know. I find this pretty concerning. And obviously, having a family is not the end all be all. It's not for everybody. You can have a fulfilling life without a family, but prioritizing it last in a definition of success for your life, prioritizing behind owning a home. It's just kind of like, I don't, there are a lot of people in big empty homes that have unfulfilling lives. And I think that having stability and having finances is important at all. But I think if we have this culture where, the most important thing you have to care about if you're a 23-year-old living in a big city is like saving enough money to be able to own a home, I think that is leading people potentially to a bad place. And I do think it says something unhealthy, maybe about the culture on the left, that having a family and having kids is so deprioritized. Again, it doesn't have to be everything. I'm not saying you should be a trad wife, but last, I don't know. I think that has some concerning elements for me.
Well, let me rejoin on that, right? So, again, it's not to say that they don't value it, But if you look at the enormous economic angst that these young people are under, and let's face it, they are looking at an America where they probably won't do as well as past generations of Americans do, and who
Every
are
24-year-old has
vulnerable,
economic angst, though, Cornell.
and who is the most vulnerable in this space, right? It's going to be women, and particularly younger women. So the ideal that a younger woman shouldn't be saying, well, you know what, I want to be able to take care of myself, and I want to be able to get ahead. But and I'm going to put that before having children. I think makes all the sense in the world, looking at sort of how their outlook on the world and the real economic anxiousness that they're in. And by the way, again, their ideal of freedom is simply not to just have a family, but to be able to sort of take care of themselves if something goes wrong, and quite frankly, to take care of their family if something goes wrong.
Oh, as the woman here, I'm going to chime in.
Thank you.
I will say, I think it's interesting that you don't see both of those things as priorities. You don't see having a career, having stability, making enough to earn a home, and then also having marriage, having kids and getting married lumped all together near the top as ideals to have a successful life. And I think part of the issue here is that young people are having such a hard time connecting with each other. The social media apps, the endless scrolling, there's always something better around the corner. It's creating a divide that makes it so that women feel like men don't want to commit and why bother with them, or they have bad behavior. And men feel that women don't want a strong man, don't want, not a breadwinner, but don't want a man to be a man. There's that cultural message that's being sent online to men and the cultural message being sent online to women. It's creating this real divide. You know, people don't go out after work any longer. They're not getting drunk together at bars any longer. There's just less of a third space for people to connect. And the social media world has just made it so much harder. So I understand the separation. I think it's disappointing. You know, I think having a family and kids is wonderful. I think being successful and having my own ability to make money and to take care of myself alone if I need to is also a wonderful thing. I'd feel uncomfortable without it. But I do think that we got to find a way to get those things back together as priorities, broadly speaking. Of obviously not for everybody. Everyone's different, but broadly speaking. All right. Thank you. That was my TED Talk. Tim
I'm
Miller.
happy you were the one that booked the two men for the segment, Katie.
No,
so
we
thank
had
you.
Melissa. We ran out of time. You know, Tim was texting beforehand saying women are going to hate me. I had to come to your rescue.
Thank you.
Cornell, really good to have you. Thank you, guys.